Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Cast Bros. I'm Andrew Castro.
And I'm Adam Castro. Andrew, how are you doing, man?
I am excited to go home. I got
Woo!
tested today so that I
In
can go see Stephanie.
algebra or English or what?
COVID-19.
Oh, you got the COVID-19 test. Did you pass?
I don't know. I just took it today, shoved a cotton swab up my nose. Fun. But
Oh,
yeah, just so I make sure I don't get all y'all sick when I go back. If in fact I have it, which I'm very sure that I don't.
how many
Uh,
tests have you had so far?
this is my second one.
So,
Uh,
what is the experience with going through a COVID-19 test?
So I do it
I'm
through
curious.
CVS. I don't go to any of the fast ones. You show up, they give you a baggie through like a mail slot. Like you see prisoners get their food. It's you put it on a tray, you open the case and they pull it out of there.
Uh
You
huh.
pull a bag out. There's a big bag and a smaller bag. In the big bag, you pull a cotton swab, you shove it up your nose as far back as you can get it,
Oh,
spin it around, do the same thing in the other nostril, spin it around, and then break the tip off into a little test tube thing. You
ugh.
close it up, you put it in the smaller bag, and then you roll it up with a rubber band around it, and then you drop it in a box. That's all it takes. It's just waiting in line is probably the longest part because people line up all the way around the CVS to get their tests.
Well, that's why I try to stay. That's gross. That sounds horrible. That's
It's
why.
okay. Depending on whether or not you trim, it's very uncomfortable doing the spinning, and it's just very irritating. I don't know, it's weird. But
All
yeah,
right.
got the test. I'm ready to go home on Friday.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna be driving back after class. But yeah, that's what I got planned for this week. What about you?
man.
How's the
Ugh.
married life?
Married life is great. Dude, I'm getting old, man. I've been waiting to tell you this, dude. There's so many things that are happening right now, or that have been happening in the last couple of months slash this year that I'm just like, what the heck is wrong with me? I experienced acid reflux for the first time this year, and of course it was due to all of my icy and ice pop ice cream things, right? And I think it was a mixture of the ice cream and Coke Zeros all together, and I just got acid reflux for the first time. I thought I was gonna die. I honestly
All
was
of the
like,
things without sugar in them that you constantly wolf down, go through a case of Coke Zeros in 2 days, go through all of the popsicles in a night.
yeah, dude, I was
It's only a
overdoing it.
matter of
Who
time.
who knew? But I had acid reflux for the first, dude. I was like so scared. I was like, is this gonna be my life forever? Is not being able to burp without feeling pain? And then the other day, actually, before I say that, I got my first eye exam. You were there, for not my first eye exam, but my first, like, it was me initiating the eye exam because I got floaters in my eyes, and so I was seeing little specks that I thought were bugs, but they actually were floaters, and so that was going on. And then the other day, dude, I kid you not. Okay, partially this is my fault because once I started, this is really embarrassing, but I drink Coke Zero in the shower. Um, I take
Come
I take
on.
Coke Zero with me in the
That's
shower.
too far.
Well, come on. You're standing there waiting for the shower to warm up, right?
Where do
Why
you put
not
it? Do you
take
put it on that little window that's over the top of where your shower is that
Yeah,
has the
yeah, I
holes
got a
in it?
little place
Oh my
to put
gosh.
so don't picture this or anything, but I open up the shower curtain, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
holding a Coke Zero and my phone because I like to scroll through Instagram as I'm waiting for the I make use of my time, okay? Um, I open up the curtain, right? I step in, and I kid you not, dude, I slip. I slipped in the shower, and I was like, I'm on the shower tub floor, and I'm like, life alert! Like, where's my life alert? What's the commercial where the old lady's on the ground? She's like,
I've
I've
fallen and
fallen
I
and I
can't
can't
get
get
up.
up.
See, that always makes me think of
Oh man,
the FM Static song.
which one? Which one?
Or is it FM Static? I think so. Tonight I've fallen and I can't get up. I need your loving hands to come and pick me up. That one.
Yep, that's FM Static. That is Tonight. That is Tonight. Oh yeah, one of my favorite songs. Yeah, that's what's been going on with me, man. Life alert, falling in the shower, can't see, and of course eating too many Coke Zero, eating too much ice cream and drinking too much Coke Zero, man. That's living the life.
I forgot what caused it, but it wasn't too long ago. I kind of did the same thing. I think it was after the pool. I got in the shower, and Adam knows this. We don't have a bath mat in our shower. We have like very lightly coursed tub floors.
Yeah,
and I think, I was cracking my back. I was cracking my back in the shower, and I was like, okay, I feel pain in my back. I just went and got out of the pool.
I don't even know how you could mentally picture that. I don't know what, I don't like, you were cracking your back in the shower?
I think I was just doing the twist. I was just.
Oh, okay. I'm like, I cracked my back by like putting my back up against something and then like opening up. So I was just like, what the heck were you doing that on?
I was doing the twist, and then all of a sudden I slip, and I catch myself, and I look back. I was like an inch and a half from hitting the spigot.
An inch and a half away from being a Final Destination episode.
Yeah.
Final Destination movie.
Pretty much.
Oh man, this is why you need to do your push-ups. Okay, if you do your push-ups, then you can do Batman push-ups where he just falls and catches himself in the push-up. If you practice that, then you're good. You're good to go. Whew. Or just get Life Alert. We're not sponsored.
We're not sponsored,
unfortunately,
at all.
All right.
And if Life Alert ever hears this and you put that song to your commercial, we will be forever grateful.
Oh yeah. All right, Andrew. You know how we like to start things off. What are we drinking?
I need to wake up. That's what I'm drinking. Actually, this is a new one. I haven't tried it. Okay, it's not new. I just haven't tried it. It's called Ultraviolet, and it's part of the Monster Ultra series. It's purple, which is why I didn't go for it for the longest time. I think I've told Adam this a long time ago. I used to really like grape soda, and then around middle school, whenever I would drink it, it would make me lightheaded, and I had no idea why, and I just completely avoided it after that. So I just assume everything that's purple is grape flavored, and I avoid it at all costs.
How does it taste?
Tastes like grape soda.
All right. Hey, at least it's the color of your school, GCU. You know what? Yep. Actually, I was just thinking about it right now when I saw that. Did you go to GCU because you were raised to believe that there was no purple?
No one's gonna.
You know what? You know what I'm talking
about?
No
one's gonna get that joke.
We went to a camp called Awana Camp / Summit Leadership Camp, and
it eventually became a Awana Leadership Camp.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And at this camp, we wanted to make sure that there was room for Jesus between everybody. Okay.
There are rules against exclusive guys and girls hanging out. Make room for Jesus. A foot across for a foot long Bible.
We were practicing social distancing before it was cool. Okay. Yeah, we made sure, and there were even more rules, like you had to make sure that you had sleeves on your shirt, no tank tops, little things like that. But
basically high school, the rules, except actually enforced.
Yeah, actually enforced. Anyways, part of the rules was that if you were going to go in a small group, you either had to be a boy and a boy or a girl and a girl, and you couldn't be a boy and a girl going off alone. And what they basically did was that boys were blue and girls were pink, and if you mix blue and pink, it creates purple. And so that was a rule, is that there was no purple that was supposed to be going on there at the camp. You weren't going to camp to meet your future wife, okay? You were going there to learn about God and scope out who your potential maybe in the future after camp wife was going to be. Not really going out and in. So it wasn't supposed to be dating, basically. So
no, they were trying to get away from exclusivity for a number of reasons. they wanted people to hang out in more than just groups of two, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So Andrew grew up knowing that we're not supposed to be doing purple, and there he goes, going to a school where purple's everywhere. I'm sure figuratively and literally, purple is everywhere.
It is. My roommate is on our esports team, and he hangs up his jersey in the room like it's a painting. So that's the first thing I see every morning.
All right. Well, this is what it looks like, by the way, to have blue and red separated by Jesus. Social distancing at its finest. Red, white, and blue right here. I got the Liberty Pop going on. I've been addicted to this Rocket Pop flavor. I've really been addicted. It's been a new addiction of mine. I have found 3 or 4 different energy drinks that all have the same flavor, and I've been basically cycling them out the past like 3 weeks. So that's why
I have to try it when I go home.
Yeah, you have to try them all. Actually, we should like race to see who can finish them all in one sitting and just down 800 milligrams of caffeine all at once. Why spread it out throughout the day? Yeah, there's like 4 drinks. Each one of them's like 200 milligrams.
Okay.
Maybe 1 or 2 of them has 300, but who's counting?
I'm down. I'm down to see who can do that.
All right. Well, we got some interesting news this week, and we're going to reveal it right after this. I thought it'd be a good idea to introduce a new song to you guys. We've mentioned Skillet. We've mentioned Kutless. We've mentioned a lot of awesome Christian bands, but I like this idea of showing you guys live performances, especially since COVID-19 has decimated the live music industry. And we really haven't had a chance to go to any concerts, and the next best thing that you can do is at least see some live music. So again, if you guys are listening to this podcast on a podcast app, go ahead, scroll down and click the watch this episode, and you can go ahead and see this in YouTube if you want to watch this video. It's a little bit more interactive. It's a little bit more fun between us and you. Or you can continue listening. You can listen to the song and hear us chatter about it. But this is one of the best songs ever in Christian music by Skillet, and it is called Comatose. And this song in particular is from the live album called Comatose Comes Alive. So the album is called Comatose, the song is called Comatose, and the live album is called Comatose Comes Alive. And gosh, I don't even know how many years old this is, but it's pretty old, but they still play it live. We know because we were there when they played it.
I think
in February.
Comatose, the album, came out around the time I was born.
Probably. Yeah. But here you guys go. This is Comatose with the intro. So this was the very first song in this video. I hope you guys like it. Oh, do you feel it?
This is one of my favorite albums.
Oh, yeah. So they've got 2 players right now, a violin player and a cello player. I want to believe that they're mic'd up, but I have no clue.
They did it for this album, and I think another one, didn't they? Where they had classical players along with their band, right?
Oh yeah. Well, it looks amazing to see a violin player there with a rock group, you know.
There's one more element to it's just amazing to watch.
Yeah.
Here.
Oh, the goosebumps. This is another song that is so simple, but it's so powerful. The chords aren't hard at all. It's just a great song, though. It's before the beard.
Before the beard.
This album was one of the first albums where I found out that he pre-recorded a lot of the vocals, the background vocals, and even the main vocals. And, you know, Ben Kasica, the guitarist, wasn't singing at all, so you kind of need those background vocals in there, but that's what you're hearing.
Makes it easy to do the live shows. It's just... Because I remember thinking one of the earlier concerts that I went to for Skillet, I remember thinking, I still hear the bass, but his hand's not playing the bass. So
yeah, I honestly think
I was too young to
bass,
understand how live concerts work.
Yeah, I honestly think the bass is pre-recorded, and obviously a lot of the strings are pre-recorded, and then a lot of his vocals are pre-recorded.
And that's not to disvalue anything here. They still write the music, they still play the music. They played it beautifully, whether it's recorded beforehand or after. And then the showmanship that they present at the concerts. Because it's kind of, you have to separate one from the other, but they do both amazingly.
Absolutely. It just creates a more full experience when they're playing live.
Absolutely.
And you can still tell that he is still singing. They're still playing. They're still doing, especially Jen Ledger, the guitar, the drummer. I mean, drenching in sweat, I'm sure, by the first song from her playing out, you know?
I think drums are the only thing that you cannot fake at a live concert.
No, you can't. Now, we heard this song live in February this year, and it's just so electric. Everybody screams those words out, man. Ugh.
And I was telling Adam, I normally don't like live videos of music, only because I prefer to be in the concert. I want to feel my internal organs shake every time the bass is played.
Oh, yeah.
And that feeling just makes it complete for me. And I get that every single time we're at a Skillet concert. Even when they play their slow songs, I get that much more into it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we went to that concert before COVID hit. That was very lucky timing.
Oh, yeah. Woo! Oh, man. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Yeah, it's one thing to see it and to hear it through headphones, and yeah, it's a completely different thing to feel it in your bones, and just be moved by it. But I'm grateful that we were able to go to that concert. But yeah, Comatose, one of the best songs ever. So simple, so powerful. It's got the strings. It's got the I think it's tuned down to B tuning, so a nice deep, simple, solid song with a you know, I don't want to say it's too cryptic of a message there, you know. I don't want to sleep, I don't want to dream unless I feel you next to me. You take the pain I feel, and waking up to you has never felt so real. Realizing that waking up to really the truth of God, and I think when they went into Awaken Alive after Comatose, it's kind of funny the way that those two albums played off of each other, going from Comatose to Awaken Alive. I think that that's really what the song was speaking to, is that when you are finally awake to the truth of God, or you're awake to the relationship that you can have with God, that now life is worth living. Now you don't have to feel this pain. You don't have to be asleep through life. You don't have to feel this sadness and the depressed feelings that you may have of not finding peace or not finding hope. So,
And I think this is another perfect example of what we talked about a minute ago, where you can take it out of context. People, non-believers who don't know that Skillet is a Christian band, very well might take that to be talking about a woman waking up next to you. You take this pain away.
Right,
but
right.
quite frankly, nobody can do what God can do in our lives, and that's represented throughout the rest of the album. Better Than Drugs, Comatose. What was another one that was specifically about that? It's that whole album is just
You
whatever
could even
you're
say
going
last
through.
night, right? Last night.
Yeah.
It's the last night you'll spend alone living.
Anything that you're going through, anything that the world will give you to fill that hole. I feel down. Here's alcohol. I feel useless. Here's drugs. I feel worthless. Here's money. None of that can fill the hole, the God-sized hole in our hearts.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people do go to relationships to try to fill that hole.
That's another one, yeah.
They try to go to their, guys will try to find a girl that will give them love or give them affection to try to take away the issues that they have in their hearts. Or the same thing for women. Women will go to men to try to find that sense of identity or value or affection and love. And even though, God does say in the Bible that a relationship between a husband and a wife should be like the church, right? It should be like Christ and the church. So there's a reason why some of those feelings are there. Like it's not a horrible thing that you can draw similarities between those two kinds of relationships, because honestly, husbands and wives should be reflecting that relationship between Christ and the church. Absolutely. But that does not mean that husbands and wives can be Christ for each other, can be God for each other. That's not at all what that relationship is supposed to be. And so when we finally realize that, no, we are not going to be able to find peace or hope or ultimate fulfillment in another person, but we can find that in God, that wakes us up to that truth. So if you didn't know, then now you know. Anyways, as you can tell, we really like that album. We'll probably be bringing it up even more so in the future. But Andrew, we put out a reaction video for the new Kutless music coming out, and I
can't really speak to the conversation because you're the one who had the conversation with them. But after reading what was said between, I think I can call it our social media and theirs. It was mostly Adam. But I am very excited. I don't fanboy a lot, but I can say that I was very excited to hear that Kutless actually responded to our review of their song, and they loved it.
Yeah. We were excited about that. I mean, we haven't been really established as a podcast. We haven't really been established as a YouTube channel or anything. We don't have a crazy amount of followers or anything like that. But it's really cool to at least see that that we've got some eyes on us, and that what we have been putting out is an encouragement to the band. Honestly, if we can be any encouragement to any music group at all, especially someone like Kutless, then I'm happy about that for sure.
Especially at a time like right now with COVID, where this would be the best time to make new music, or at the very least, this is where people need their hopes raised.
Yeah, I definitely want them to feel encouraged. I want them to keep doing what they're doing. And following the call that God has led them into. So yeah, I'm super excited about them enjoying what we were able to put out. We even let them know, like, hey, if you ever want to be a guest on our podcast, we would love to have them on. So they're going to be putting out new music, and honestly, what we want to do as far as the music side of this podcast is show you guys some great music by great people, not even just specifically Christian music, but just good music in general. And they are definitely a group of guys that put out amazing, influential, uplifting, encouraging music. And as they continue to put out new stuff, we are going to share it with you guys. We will continue to do reactions and get the word out for you guys to know who this band is. And you know, Andrew was telling me before we got on here that not a lot of people know about Kutless over at his school. And
Yeah, and we're a private Christian university. I would imagine that somebody the band that was so influential in a lot of early Christian rock music or just early Christian music, Strong Tower, God of Wonders, those songs those weren't even just me growing up with music. That was me growing up in church. We would play those in church for some of our services, and it was amazing because they were able to capture, not just relate it to us, but capture messages that some hymns couldn't. And going out and telling people, because I was very excited when we got a message back from them, I started telling them. I wasn't bragging, but I was very excited. And I was telling people, and they had no idea who Kutless was. And my roommate had said that he maybe heard one song ever, and I showed them the Hearts of the Innocent album, and he loved it.
yeah, yeah, and you know what? I'm sure there's way more bands that this generation's Christian rock listeners probably don't even know about. I follow a couple of the Christian rock pages on Instagram, and they didn't know about bands like Waverly or A Current Affair or just some other bands that were forming as I was growing up. And yeah, so we want to share that kind of stuff with you. I do, man. I'm old, dude. It's happening, man.
I'm 20 years old, and I'm feeling nostalgic about this.
Yeah, it's you know, age will creep up on you. I'm telling you, but I'm excited and happy that they are continually putting out music and continuing to do that. So, Kutless, if you're listening to us, we're gonna keep sharing your music and sharing your stuff, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to share more music that speaks to people and is relevant. That's still relevant today. Like all of this music that's been put out years and years and years and years is still relevant today. That we can meditate on the words of those Casting Crowns songs, and those were songs that I was listening to like when I was like, I want to say 8, like 20 years ago. So yeah, we
ask is keep giving us more to love. That's all we ask.
That's right. Keep making the good music. Speaking of great bands and speaking of great music, Disciple is having another one of their live concert events that you can watch via live stream. And it's actually going to be November 21st at 7 p.m. Central Time. It's the Andrew, did you ever hear the album called Horseshoes and Hand Grenades?
A little bit of it. It's barely a memory, but it's a fond memory.
That's the one with sense. Dear X and
yes.
Invisible.
Dear X, Invisible, not Inhuman. What am I thinking of?
Battle Lines is one. Inhuman. They have Deafening. It's great. It's a great album. Got a lot of really good songs. You know what? We should do a reaction next week to Dear X, because that's actually a really, really good song.
Let's just make a goal. Find all of the old bands. Oh, okay, not old bands, but the bands that we grew up with, and do one song from each. That's just.
Oh yeah, we should definitely do that.
Let's show everybody what we grew up on, why we're as crazy as we are, what formed our tastes.
Yes. Yeah, we should.
And I think Disciple's really been on the mark with this whole COVID thing, because like we were saying, there hasn't been any live concerts since COVID hit, but they've been, I think this is their 3rd or 4th, right?
This is their 4th. No, this is their 3rd. I lost count. They've just been on it. They've been continuing to put out great live performances.
They didn't miss a beat, and it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I think I think they really do see what they do as a ministry, and they want to connect with people. They want to give their fans what they want. And I think that when the idea came about to do a live stream, and it was thrown out to everybody, and they said, yeah, of course we'll watch it. And then they got such a great reaction from people on their first one, and so they want to do it again. I just think they ran with it and found a system that works. They have a lot of their people over in Nashville who just have the setups and have everything that they need to do it, I guess, and it's worked. It's definitely worked for them. So I'm excited. I'm gonna keep giving them my money. That's for sure. If they continue to do this. Now, the really cool thing about this performance is that they're gonna have the original players from that album go with them over to Nashville and play the songs. So I don't know if you remember the trucker guys. Do you remember when we first saw this new album and they had these new players with them? There was this guy who wore like a trucker hat and had flannel on, and it looked totally weird compared to everybody else in the band wearing like skinny jeans and everything. It was after Southern Hospitality, and this whole album had a very Southern twist to it with amazing solos. I think the guitar player's name is Andrew Welsh, and when I first saw him playing with the band, he wore a trucker hat and had a flannel shirt, and I think even like baggy jeans. Like he did not fit the Disciple emo rock band like look. He just didn't fit. And then like by the third concert that I saw Disciple, he was in a black t-shirt and skinny jeans. So they converted him to to the rock scene attire.
They saw his outfit. We don't do that here. We don't.
We don't do that here. So yeah. Anyways, they're gonna have those original players. It's gonna be really exciting. And one of those original players, let me make sure I've got his name correctly here. This is actually a lot of fun info. Micah Sanin. I think that's what his name is. Micah Sanin. He was actually a guitar player for Falling Up. And this is the guy who would do crazy things like backflips off of guitars, backflips off of speakers. This guy was just insane amount of energy on the stage. He had these crazy facial expressions. Like, it was just so much fun to watch him play live. That's
never
actually
did anything like that on stage.
I know, right? That's actually something that we can show next week because it's just so awesome. So yeah, this is a great chapter in Disciples history, and I'm really happy to see that they're bringing those guys on. And then the current members of the band are still going to be there to play some of their new music that they just released in their Love Letter Killshot deluxe version. So those 3 songs that they released called Darkness Dies, Enemy, and Kingdom Come. Great songs. All 3 of them are great songs. If you haven't heard them, go to their Instagram or go to their Spotify or YouTube or whatever and look up Darkness Dies, Enemy, and Kingdom Come. Great new song. So
because you've been more exposed to them than I have over the years, which was your favorite album?
Ooh, that's a tough one. They've got, I think, like 10 albums. They've got a lot of they've been around for a long time. I think their first album was like 1999.
I think mine is either Horseshoes and Hand Grenades or Oh God Save Us All.
Yeah. Disciple is a very interesting Christian band because they like to change their style every once in a while, and they also like to change the way that they write lyrics. They have some albums where the lyrics are a little bit more cryptic. They're a little bit more life and relationship based. And then they've got some albums that are just about them and God. They've got some that are very blunt and very like, we are gonna just make this like a rock worship song or a rock worship album that is not like conventional worship. But yeah, if I had to say I'm not even saying this is my favorite album, because they've got a lot of really great albums, and it's really hard to choose just one. But if I had to say that there's one album that describes Disciple the best, it would be Attack, their album Attack, because in that album they have some songs that are relationship based and some songs that are very vertical. They actually define it this way, and this is how you would define it. There's horizontal songs that are like my relationship with my family or my friends or my wife or my girlfriend or my, people around me, horizontal. My relationship with the world, my relationship with the homeless, with the poor, with my enemies, with like, those are very horizontal relationship kind of songs. And then there's vertical, which is my relationship with God, how I view God, how God views me, how I feel when I'm far away from God, how I feel when I'm close to God. Very vertical message kind of songs, and they just do a great job of creating songs that are speaking to both kinds of situations in life. So Attack is probably the best blend of those two things in one album. So any writer of a song has to balance how does this make sense to me, and how is this going to make sense to our listeners, and do we make this cryptic? Do we make this non-cryptic? Do we use imagery that makes sense, or maybe the imagery doesn't make sense? So I think it's an art that some people hit on the nail. And, writers of songs like Reliant K, Amberlynn, writers of songs like Emery is a great example of that. Skillet and a lot of their music, they've gotten super cheeseballs in their recent albums. Very radio friendly. But there's some great songs by a lot of different artists, and Disciple is like right there with great music that they write. And the really cool thing too is that Kevin Young, the singer of Disciple, in every single one of their albums, in every single one of the books that come with the CDs, there's something called CDs, for all you kids that don't know. There's these little circles that come in these cases, and on the outside of these cases are these little booklets where they put the lyrics to the songs. There's this thing called lyrics, which are words to songs that have messages to them.
They're the things you're supposed to be hearing when the sound is going.
Yeah.
Where nowadays it's just white noise.
Right.
Those sound more like instruments now than they used to.
Yeah. But the CDs are they have the booklets in them, and in those booklets are the lyrics, and next to the lyrics, Kevin Young actually puts the verses that he got a lot of the inspiration from for writing these songs. And they actually have on their website, on their Instagram that they post, they actually have forums where they discuss the meanings behind their songs, where they were spiritually while they wrote these songs, what they intended with it. So a lot of thought and a lot of heart goes into a lot of these songs. And I think that Kevin Young has a lot of pastoral intention when he writes these songs. If you've ever been to a Disciple concert, he takes a good 10 to 20 minutes of bringing out the Bible and talking about what God has been wanting or calling him to share with the people in front of him during that time. And it's
even
a beautiful
in these live
thing.
Streams, even in the live streams, he's taking them to talk to the audience and tell them about current events, where sometimes we just need God. Sometimes we just need to hear it. And even if it's not in church, if it's in the middle of a concert where you're just listening to good music, and whether or not you're in the room with them, you're fellowshipping with other people, every once in a while we need to be reminded of God's message.
Yeah, they have definitely been a group that when they have an audience's attention on them for their music and for their skills and their performance, that they will take that attention and bring it to God and bring it to His Word. And that's been something that has been great to see, great to hear, and even great to be a part of when we used to see them live. So yeah.
And as Christians, we appreciate that much more, because that just means they recognize that that's the gift God gave them. And it's not meant to glorify them. It's meant to glorify him.
Absolutely. So they are doing Horseshoes and Hand Grenades, another great album of theirs, in its entirety in that live stream, and that will be November 21st. So go to their website. I think their website is called www.disciplerocks.com. So, and their Instagram is Disciple Rocks. So make sure you check them out.
So speaking of things coming up and things that have already happened, by the time that this comes out, Amy Barrett will have been confirmed as our Supreme Court justice.
That's right.
And not a lot of people are happy about it.
No.
I've only seen an interview with Nancy Pelosi where she equates it to a dismantling of our checks and balances system of this country. But that's incorrect in the sense that it is completely within the president's power to nominate a Supreme Court justice, and then it becomes the Senate's job to decide whether they become confirmed or they don't. If anything, this is just a perfect exercise of the checks and balances system that we have in this country. At the very least, it's just a perfect example of that exercise of power.
You're so insensitive, Andrew. You're so insensitive to the feelings of the country. Yeah, I don't legally see anything wrong with it, constitutionally see anything wrong with it, and the only things that people are upset about is that, you know, now this means that there is a majority of conservative judges, right? And an overwhelming majority. It's 6-3, right? 6-3 conservative, which a lot of Democrats and progressives don't like. They don't want it to have that kind of a ratio. And then the other thing too is that because last election, the nomination and the confirmation never went through, so now they're like, you know, hey, well, it shouldn't go through this time either.
Well, because people think precedents are set the last time it happened. This has happened many times before in history. I think it's like 26 to 29 times it's been on an election year a nominee has been confirmed as a Supreme Court justice. This is not a new concept in any capacity. And if anything, with the way that the Democratic Party has been talking about the Supreme Court justices, they want to pack the courts. They want to add more Supreme Court justices so that they can get a majority anyway, and that defeats the entire purpose.
Yeah,
if they slap on additional judges and then they have the majority that way, then that's just cheating.
Yeah, and honestly, Biden and Kamala Harris were avoiding the question and avoiding answering the question because they didn't want to, you know, Biden had said he doesn't want it to be on the news, doesn't want it to be the main, you know, thing there. And which it's really funny because news medias aren't saying anything bad about him or anything bad about anything he does. So why not just say it? But now you've got so many Democrats and so many people on the left who are saying, just go ahead and pack the courts. Why not pack the courts? It's the right thing to pack the courts. It's actually, it is actually preserving our democracy to pack the courts because there's not equal representation between the conservatives and the progressives in the Supreme Court now. And I'm realizing there's a theme here, okay? There's a theme of because there's not equal voting in the Supreme Court, right? It's not, which you can't have, you can't have equal in a 9-seat court, right?
Which is the point.
Which is the point, yeah. Because there's not that equality there, then they have to fix it. They need to make it equal. They need to make it so that there's not as much of a majority in one party. You are seeing that because it wasn't the popular vote to do this, that they shouldn't have done it. It wasn't the popular vote for Trump to be president. It wasn't the popular vote for us to have the Electoral College. It's not the popular vote to. It's basing so many things off of the popular vote, when we are not a pure democracy. We are not a
We are
majority
a
overrules the minorities, you know?
we are a constitutional republic that protects the minority vote. We protect the people who don't have as much individual power as everyone else. And
Exactly.
that was the whole point when this all started. The states didn't want to be stripped of their power during voting. The states with the lower populations didn't want to be governed by the states with the high populations. And that's exactly the reason for the Electoral College. That's
Right.
exactly the reason for the checks and balances that we have within government. And those powers are being exercised. We can't be mad that they're doing their job.
Yeah. And on the other side of it too, like the Affordable Care Act and Roe versus Wade, like when you look at the popular vote, of course the popular vote is going to be to keep the Affordable Care Act because the majority of the people who are benefiting from it are the majority of the people. And you've got Roe versus Wade, where if it was left to the majority of the people, they would decide to just keep it what it was. But that doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do, and it doesn't mean that it's the best way. And
And this is the utilitarian argument where what's best for the majority is the best for everyone, but that's a problem because then who becomes the majority? Who then we get mob rule. We get, well, there's more of us, so we're more important than you are. That's a problem. And that should be
right,
something that
right.
everyone is against.
And I don't like saying the mob rule because I think people think that's an extreme. It's a
Have you
metaphor
seen
for
California right now?
yeah, well, with the riots and everything, but it's an extreme way of basically saying the other thing you said, that that the majority of us want it a certain way, and so therefore it should be that way. But that's not what America stands for. That's not. I think that we need to value what is right over what is popular, or what is successful over what is popular, and we need to value what is constitutional over what is popular. And honestly, I don't like to be a conservative saying this as a conservative, but I would rather have more conservative people on a judging on a judging platform. I'd rather have more conservative judges than more progressive judges. I'd rather have judges who want to maintain the law rather than create new laws, if that makes sense.
See, and for that reason, this is something that has been touched on by multiple people. There's a difference between a advocate and an upholder of the law. People who want to make new laws versus wanting to uphold the ones that are already in place. And personally, and we might disagree on this, I would rather have progressive lawmakers and conservative judges.
Yeah.
That they like if we times change. Things happen all the time. There are new issues, there are new things to address, there are new kinds of people that want their voices heard, and I'm okay with that. I completely understand, and we should in some capacity change with the times. And that's why I would say they make the laws, but deciding what they mean, deciding how they are implemented should go to people who are more restrained in letting other people take control.
Right, right. Which is why I don't really have a problem with ACB being confirmed and put as a Supreme Court judge. I don't think that it's wrong, and I know that a lot of people are afraid about their rights being taken away. When I don't think that they need to be afraid. I don't think they should be afraid. When it comes to
what they define as rights,
right,
versus what are actual constitutional rights.
I think we've spoken enough about abortion for people to know where we stand with that. I think that we are both united in believing that we need to protect the rights of the unborn child just as much as we protect the rights of the mother. And it's so crazy to hear people say that everything that RBG did, RBG or RGB? I think RBG.
You're confusing me with the acronyms.
Sorry, I know. But with the justice who just passed away, that now with Amy Barrett taking her place, that now everything that she had done is now undone. Now that Amy Barrett has taken her place, everything that RBG has done is now going to be undone, and I think that that's just an unrealistic thing to believe. There's a lot of things that RBG had done that allowed Amy Barrett to become a Supreme Court justice. I don't think that her agenda is to undo all the things that she has done. I think it's unrealistic to believe that, and I think that obviously she holds different views, which is okay, and she is going to judge differently from her, which is also okay. And
this is the difference between difference of opinion and an echo chamber. We don't want 9 people up there saying the exact same thing. We want them to disagree, because then disagreement leads to conversation, and conversation leads to truth.
And I don't think that even Amy Barrett will judge the same way as her other conservative judges. We already had gotten examples of her judging opposed to her own religious beliefs and her own preferences. I think that she is a very intelligent, a very deserving woman for this position, and I think that we need to move forward and again stay constitutional, stay fair, and this was still a fair move. I know I said in another podcast that in another episode that I thought this was unfair. I only think it's unfair in the sense that this didn't happen last election and it's happening this election. But that was also before I realized that that there was no chance Barack Obama was going to have another term in office. There's other factors that I just didn't consider. So all in all, it's not unfair. It's not ultimately unfair. It was still a fair thing to do. Everybody was playing by the rules, by the constitutional rules, and it happened. It happened while Trump was president. So, if somebody passes away while a Democratic president is there, I know for sure they're going to take advantage of that opportunity now. And they have every constitutional right to do so. So, on the Republican conservative side, we can't cry and complain when they do it next time, and that's fine. But this threatening of packing the courts, that
it
is
undermines
something,
the entire conversation.
Yeah, that is something that even President Trump could do right now if he really wanted to, and he's not, because I think he understands that that is an abuse of power. So I guess
and I
we'll
want to
just
make
have
this
to
clear
wait and
too,
see.
because and I think I would like to think that me and Adam do this pretty well, separating our religious views from what should be politically absolute. In terms of like the judges, we care less about the judges voting or deciding the way that we want them to, based on what we believe, and more about them being consistent, especially in terms of the Constitution. We want a judge that's going to uphold the law, a judge that's going to follow the Constitution, more than we would want one that just passes everything that we agree with. Because we would not want a far left, super progressive person to have that kind of power. I don't want to say enemy. I don't want the people that we disagree with to have that kind of power. So why would we want it? We want things to be fair. We want things to be just. We want things to be consistent. So knowing that, we wouldn't want Trump to pack the courts, even if it put things in our favor. We wouldn't want a super conservative judge that's only ever going to vote in that respect. We want it to be fair. We want it to be justified.
Yeah, and honestly, we would understand an outrage if this was someone who seemed really shady and wasn't such an outstanding and upstanding kind of person. But Amy Barrett really is. Like, she knows her stuff, and she seems very qualified, and she seems very ready, willing, and able to hold this position. It's what she's been working towards. I think women should be excited about her taking the place of RBG, and I think that they should be proud of her instead of seeing her as a threat to their rights. I just think that our country needs to be a little bit more proud of this woman and this mother and this American success story, and not try to be so doom and gloom about it. So
But this
that's
is
my
something
take
that
on
we've
it.
this is something we've seen from uh, Democratic politicians before, where it's like, we support women, we support African Americans, just not theirs, just not
Yeah,
their
yeah.
women, just not their African American politicians. But it's all just a front. It's all just, how can they get people on their side? And I'm not going to say that the Republican Party doesn't do it too. They do a lot. And but the things that they do it for are Christianity. They'll appeal to people's religious beliefs and say, "Well, I'm a Christian too, so you should vote for me." And sometimes it's not true. I won't speak to their soul. Only God can see their heart. But I would not put it past a lot of politicians who will use religion, who will use race, who will use gender as a reason to get people to vote for them, as the
And
only
that
reason, without actually looking at policies or beliefs.
Yeah, that's something that we've seen during this election, and honestly, we can't allow that to we cannot allow political parties to divide the body of Christ. We need to remember that we as the body of Christ and we as Christians should remain a family, even if we have differences and opinions about politics, because the politicians are trying to grab at us and divide us by saying, by saying things like Jesus was socialist, or saying things like, would Jesus really want to take away the health care for everyone? Didn't he want to save everyone? Didn't he want to heal the sick? And then on the other side, the Christians saying that, if you're a Christian, then you should vote for Trump because he wants to save the babies and he wants to keep churches open and give you your freedom of religion and all these different things. You know,
And again, we can't make claims to
politics
their
are
hearts. Only God can see their hearts.
Yeah,
But
politics are politics, and both sides will abuse the messages of the Bible for their own gain. I saw it on the Republican side. The guy was saying during a Trump rally. It wasn't Trump who said this, but it was someone else. He basically said that a vote for Trump will keep God in your life. If you want God to remain in your life, then vote for Trump. Speaking to him keeping the churches open. I assure you, whether you believe in him or not, whether you vote for Trump or not, God is real and God is in your life regardless. But it
and
was
all those people who claim, I wouldn't say that Christ was non-violent. I would say he didn't want to, nor did he physically hurt anyone. But when you ask yourself, honest to God, what would Jesus do? And I think I've said this before, flipping tables and whipping people is an option.
well, and I've been Occupy Democrats has been a little bit more vocal about Christians. I think they're trying to really catch the Christian vote, or at least the Christians' eyes. And then also with current news, I don't know if you knew this, but the Pope basically condones now gay marriage, which is
This Pope in
crazy to
particular
me.
has been really liberal since the beginning of his term.
Yeah, we'll probably talk at depth on this in the future, but the Bible says that homosexuality is a sin. The Bible says to hate the sin and love the sinner. So we are not saying that we hate homosexuals, or that we can't be friends with homosexuals, or any of that stuff.
Or even that homosexuals cannot be Christians. It's a
Right, right.
matter of hating homosexuality, the
Yeah.
sin itself.
And it does say in the Bible that among the liars and the thieves and the adulterers, that the homosexuals are also in that mix of people who will not inherit the kingdom of God. And I don't believe that that means that people who have committed acts of homosexuality, or people who have committed acts of theft, or committed acts of adultery, or lying, or any of that, that they won't inherit the kingdom of God. I think it's speaking more to the people who have made that their identity. They've made it their identity to be liars. They've made it their identity to be thieves. And for those people who have made it their identity to be homosexual, I believe the Bible speaks very clearly that that is not showing a true relationship with God. I think it's one thing for someone to say, I struggle with homosexuality, I have these feelings, I have these desires, and I don't want to act upon them because the Bible speaks against it. And I think it's another thing for someone to say, I am a homosexual, I'm going to live this lifestyle, I am going to accept myself and my feelings within myself, and God accepts me for who I am, and God is condoning it, and he is love, and he is all these things, and because he is love, he's obviously going to accept me into heaven because I love with a homosexual love or whatever, and I just don't think that they are. I just don't think they're understanding what the Word of God is saying when it speaks to those things.
And this is a conversation I had relatively recently, where somebody asked me, so if somebody is bi, somebody is homosexual, somebody is a murderer, someone is this, that, and the other thing, what has to change, or what distinguishes them from any other sinner in terms of Christianity? And thinking about it more, it has to do with what you identify as. And that's not exactly a controversial thing there, but it's a confusing thing to say. Because if someone asked me, what are you? Like, what are the top 3 things that you identify as? If you ask somebody that, the first one, and this is where the controversial comes in. The first thing they say is what they think they are. And the first thing that I think me and Adam would say is Christian. In order, I believe myself to be a Christian, a man, and an American. In that order. And as my life goes on, those may change. But Christian will always be at the top. That is what I identify as, and that is what identifies me. Now, people who identify, well, I'm gay first, I'm bi first, I'm African American first, I'm white first, I'm American first. Even being American first above God isn't right. That is not according to the Christian faith. We are Christian first. We are God's creations.
Yeah.
And that recognition is just,
I think,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think anything we put above Christ is a stumbling block, and it is an idol. It's an idol. It's a false idol. Anything we put above our relationship with God and Christ, and any truth that we accept that is other than the truth of God's word, is a false truth. So when it comes to things like abortion or homosexuality or socialism or any of these ideas or thoughts that do not coincide with God's word, you look at socialism. That doesn't line up with the parable of the talents. That doesn't line up with the parable of the laborers or the sowing of the seeds. It matters what you put in, because what you put in is going to be what comes out. And you yield the fruit of the things that you sow, of the things that you do. You yield the fruit of the things that you invest in, right? How good a steward you were when it comes to the work that you do. Socialism doesn't really line up with the teachings of Christ. I don't think capitalism does either. I don't think that Christ was proactively, go out and make your own business and everything. I
don't think it was an economics question, but it was just a matter of trying to show people it's not that what you produce is your worth, but if you don't try to do so, like, again, the parable of the talents, he hid it away, and then he brought his master exactly what his master had given him, and he said, see, I didn't lose any of it, but you didn't make any either.
Yeah.
So what did you do?
There was risk with investing, right? There's risk with doing that, but he took the risk, and Obviously, he was more happy with the people that took the risk and had more return on investment than the man who didn't. So I don't think that Jesus was proactively socialist or proactively capitalist. He spoke to things that were more on being a good steward of the things that God gave you, and for giving to people out of yourself what God has given you, and that being an individual mandate, not something that a government should be partaking in. When it comes to the government, they are there to bring the sword down on those who do evil and those who are going against the law. When it comes to abortion, we are told in the Bible that that children in the womb are being crafted by God, that their lives are being planned out by God, that God has thoughts about them. And obviously from anecdotal experience, for mothers who have feelings and relationships with the child that they are giving birth to, that is life, you know. And again, as a believer, I think that life begins at conception. But as a human being, I say if that thing has a heartbeat and it's coming from human beings, that's a life, you know. I think scientifically we can set some sort of standard that is not just when it comes out of the womb, but when it is growing in the womb, we can say that it's life, and it not be based off of our religion, but based off of us being team human being. And when it comes to homosexuality, the Bible explicitly says that a man laying with a man or a woman laying with a woman is sinful. It's not what God has created us to do. Obviously, you can do it. You're capable of doing it, and you have the free will and choice to do things like that, but it is considered a sin. And if you
Just
make
because
it
you can do something doesn't make it right.
right, and if you make that your identity and you say that it is true, that it is right for me to do this, I am right in doing this, it is a right kind of love, it is a godly kind of love, then that is not what the truth actually is, at least according to the Bible.
And that's what it means to carry out a calling from God. If God calls you to do something and he tells you, set all of this aside, and that's what he's called us to do. If he speaks to our heart, if he moves us in a way that glorifies him, set everything else aside. Because when it comes down to it, you are my tool, you bring glory to me, to God. So put everything else aside. Everything that glorifies you, set it aside. Everything that makes your flesh happy, set it aside.
Set it aside. And not to say that we don't have identities, you know, God still has given us individual identity, right? But our identity is still in the umbrella of who God has called us to be. Andrew is Andrew. Adam is Adam. You know, we both have our own personalities, the way that God has made us, the callings that God has given us, different skills in different things, different enjoyment in different things, different fulfillments in different things. And God is using us in those things. God's using me in fitness. God's using Andrew in gun shooting and knife collecting, you know? So God is using us in those different ways because I don't know how to freaking even open a knife half the time. And
the last time we took him out shooting, he had a big old bruise on his shoulder because he couldn't hold the gun right.
Right, you know, and I'm not a bad shot, but I'm not as good a shot as Andrew. So, you know, God is using us in those different ways. So not that God doesn't use our individuality for his own glory, but we are used for his glory, not for our own. We shouldn't be using ourselves for our own glory. So tying this back to the politics of everything, people are going to try to use our Christianity for the glory of the Republican Party, for the glory of the Democratic Party, for the glory of whatever agenda each one has. And as much as people don't like to admit it, each side has an agenda. Of course, 100%. Our agenda needs to be the agenda of Christ and the agenda of us answering our own calling. And for
whatever
some people,
that looks like, whether that is the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, whatever the individual policies are, that has to be our goal. Not
absolutely
red versus blue, not conservative versus liberal. it has to be for the glory of God.
And I 100% believe that God has, and the Holy Spirit has given some Christians the conviction to vote Republican and some Christians the convictions to vote Democrat. And that in different areas of the world, different governors, different states, different parts of America, that he has called everybody to vote differently. I don't believe every single Christian is called to vote one way because of those convictions that he's given each and every one of us. I don't believe that because you are a Christian, you should vote one way. I believe you need to do what you feel called to do, because ultimately, I don't think God cares. I think he does care, but ultimately our calling will not change. We are called to do the exact same thing no matter who is president. And after listening to the last debate, you know, I think it went better, but I still don't know who's going to end up winning. Somebody asked me today, do you think Donald Trump's going to win? Do you think he's going to win the election? And honestly, my answer is, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to win. I would be very surprised if he did. I don't feel that same way about Biden. I would not be surprised if Biden won. I would be very surprised if Trump did, because you've got so many celebrities and so much media, so many athletes, so many influencers who are encouraging so many people to vote Biden. And if Trump were to win, I would just be shocked. I honestly would be. I know there's a lot of people who think that the Democrats and the far left and Kamala Harris and Biden are just crazy. I don't feel the same way about it, but like, I just think there's
They're the ones
so
who are
much
playing identity politics, the ones saying, Biden, quote unquote, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. They're the ones who are the actors, the celebrities. They're playing on people's identities. The same things that we said before. All of those identities that you identify yourself as, they're important. They're part of who you are. But you should be able to cast all of those aside to put God first. And if you're listening to this and you're not a Christian, keep that in mind, where your identities can be played against you.
Yeah.
You identify yourself as, what you hold dear, can still be played against you if you follow them blindly.
Yeah. And we've seen a lot of that during this election. So as people are deciding who they want to vote for, you know, both sides are not perfect. Both sides have pros and cons. Both sides have lied in one way or another, or have fibbed the truth, taken things out of context.
Not answered important questions.
Changed their answers. You know, the whole fracking, non-fracking. Trump pushed him this debate and got him to admit that he wants to, you know, do away with fracking. But ultimately, you need to ask the question, what is going to happen in the next 4 years? And what do you think would be best for the country and for America in the next 4 years? And that's how you need to vote. So with that, I think it's a good place to end the podcast. Andrew, you got any other final thoughts?
I want to say that whatever's going to happen is what's going to happen, but I also know what happened last election, where Trump won and people took to the streets, and then they blamed Trump for it. And I want to say right now to anyone listening to this, I don't care who wins. If Biden wins and you're conservative, you voted Republican, don't retaliate. Accept that he's the president now and continue your calling. Continue living in this country. This country, again, I said number 3, I'm an American. I love this country. And I know that there are checks and balances. I know that we swing one way and then we swing the other. Know that in the long run, it will affect us, but in the sense of our walk with God, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely. Guys, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and review, and to subscribe so you'll be notified when we get new episodes out to you. Visit our website, www.thecastbros.com. Visit our Instagram @thecastbros. And until next time,
take care now.
bye-bye then.